Hello and welcome back to another VegInspired video. Today we're talking tacos, specifically roasted veggie potato bean tacos. I'm so excited to share this recipe with you. It is from my budget-friendly plant-based diet cookbook, and it has evolved into one of our favorite meals. We make this, I would say, almost once a week. It's easy, it's a sheet pan meal, and you can load it up with whatever vegetables you have. So I'm gonna show you with what we have today and give you an idea of the recipe from the book. If you want more details, you can check out the book on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below for all of my books. And yeah, stay tuned and let's make these veggie bean tacos. I'm gonna start by cutting my washed broccoli. Now, as I said, this recipe is great because you can use up whatever veggies you have on hand. So I have this small piece of broccoli, just gonna cut it in about 1-inch florets, something bite-sized that you could have in a taco shell and not feel like it's taking up too much space or you have to cut it in order to eat it, right? So, and I'm gonna say this will be about a cup, but like I said, you're just using up the veggies that you have on hand. So I have this broccoli on hand, I'm gonna use it up, I'm gonna cut up some cauliflower to add more veggies to the meal, and you could use anything. If you have parts of a bell pepper laying around, you could throw that in here. If you have some onion, you could throw that on the sheet pan, whatever you want. Now, I don't like to waste black pieces of broccoli, so I just cut these chunks of the stem into smaller bite-sized pieces, and we roast those too. I also am a big fan of trimming your broccoli, so I trim off the ends, and then you cut off this thick exterior of the stem, and you can actually use the whole stem. I think I shared this in our broccoli chickpea bean maple mustard salad. I'll post a link to that up there, whatever side that goes on. And I shared about using the stalks of the broccoli because I really don't like to waste. I don't like to waste all this good stuff. There's a lot of nutrients in the stalks of the broccoli. If you didn't want to use the stalks of the broccoli in your tacos, maybe, you know, the kids don't want to eat just a green piece of something, or you want to save it and use it for something else, you can trim it all up like this, and then you could run it through the food processor and make coleslaw. You could cut it into veggie sticks and dip it in hummus or your favorite veggie dip. You know, it really is versatile and it doesn't need to go to waste. You could cut it up into soup. We're going to put our broccoli on one side of our sheet pan. Now, this is an oil-free recipe, so these are going to be roasted without oil, and then afterwards we're going to toss them in a sauce. That is how I roast all of my vegetables. I don't use oil, I don't toss them in anything. Sometimes I'll season with a little salt and pepper, just depending on the recipe. In this case, I probably won't do that. I'll probably just, for this recipe, I wouldn't do that. I would just let them get the seasoning from the sauce we're going to toss it in towards the end. With my cauliflower, just going to break these and cut these into bite-sized pieces. For me, for us, for our servings, this makes about 8 to 10 tacos depending on how filled you fill it. So, you know, depending on how many tacos you serve per person, what else you're eating with this. This might serve 2, it might serve 4, it just depends. If you want more, roast two sheet pans of veggies. Like I said, this is a great sheet pan meal. You could have all of these ingredients prepped in your fridge and toss them on the sheet pan and roast them when you get home from work, and they'll come together, you know, in about 20 or so minutes, making it a really nice evening meal, a weeknight meal. Like I said, I'm just breaking these cauliflowers into bite-sized pieces. These are coming apart much easier than the broccoli did. There seems to be just set up to be smaller pieces. Just get those in there. I don't know about you guys, but I'm such a snacker. I always like to take a little bite of whatever I'm cutting. So that's just me. Let me know in the comments, or in the chat, in the comments, are you a snacker too? Do you snack on the things that you're cutting as you're cutting them? Okay, then we'll put the cauliflower right next to the broccoli. I'm gonna make it all pretty and aesthetically looking so I can take a nice picture video of it, but you could just mix them all up, it doesn't really matter. Get up some small pieces of cauliflower. Next we're going to cut up a sweet potato. Now I love that the sweet potato in this recipe, but if you don't have a sweet potato at home, you could make this with butternut squash or any squash that you could roast and eat into a taco. The smaller you cut your sweet potato, the easier one it'll be to eat, and two, the faster it'll cook. So I have a cup of sweet potato here. I'm probably going to do, well, I'm going to do the whole sweet potato, so it just depends on how much that ends up being. I actually do prefer to cut it in rounds like this and then cut those into strips and then cut those again, because you don't get all the edge, all the skin. You can peel your sweet potato. I didn't, but you can. If you want it to be heartier and more sweet potato, you could do 2 sweet potatoes. I think that 1 is probably going to be plenty for us. That's 2 cups of sweet potato. This is a can of drained and rinsed black beans. So I'm just gonna add the black beans to the sheet pan. So this sheet pan is gonna go into the oven and roast with the broccoli, the cauliflower, the black beans, and the sweet potato. As I mentioned before, you could use all broccoli, you could use all cauliflower, you could have some onions on here, you could have bell peppers, whatever you want in your taco. Brussels sprouts, squash. I mean, this is really one of those use up the veggies that are starting to turn kind of recipes, but it's a sheet pan. But the point is, we're gonna roast all this dry, just as it is cooked. No, not even gonna add salt and pepper. When it comes out of the oven in a little while, I'm gonna mix it with a sauce or with some seasonings to give it that taco-y flavor, and also to kind of give it a little bit of hydration. That's the key here. So if you're wondering how do we roast without oil, this is how. This is one really great way, and it's a way to add a lot of flavor to your vegetables without them burning, without them without the seasonings burning, all of that. Now, if you don't have fire roasted corn, you can add corn to this. I'm gonna wait and add my corn after I've taken it out and stirred it around a little bit, because I don't want the corn to overcook, because it already is fire roasted, so it already has that roasty flavor. Plus it looks really pretty, the sheet pan looks really pretty, and I don't want to mess it up with the corn. Very aesthetic over here. Okay, so while the veggies and sweet potatoes and beans roast, I'm gonna go ahead and make up a quick little pico de gallo kind of avocado topping for these. In the cookbook it says just to serve it with sliced avocado, but we've kind of found that there's other toppings that really work well. So if you have some tomatoes, I'm gonna use some grape tomatoes, but if you have a Roma tomato or whatever tomato laying around, you're just gonna kind of do that with a little bit of onion and some avocado and some lime and cilantro. You'll have yourself a quick pico de gallo with avocado that you can top these tacos with. So this is really simple. I just cut my tomatoes. Again, these are all things that are being cut into bite-sized pieces, because you're putting them on a taco and you don't want to have to cut it. You don't have to fight with it in your mouth later, right? So just nice little bite-sized pieces. If you're looking for this to be even faster, you can do all store-bought ingredients. So you could do a store-bought fresh salsa, because the pico de gallo is kind of similar to a fresh salsa, where it has the fresh cut pepper, or the fresh cut tomatoes, the fresh cut onions, the cilantro, the lime juice. You could buy that. You could buy your own guacamole, or like I said, just simply top it with a couple of slices of avocado. If you want more of a crunch on these that you're not maybe getting from the roasted veggies, you could add a little bit of cabbage as a topping. You could make it more like a street veggie tacos. and do a cilantro and finely diced white onion topping. That would be a really good topping for this. It's because the cilantro and onion would add a brightness. If you don't like cilantro, then maybe you just do a little bit of lime juice and some onions. I'm going to show you a trick with your onions in just a minute. So this is a white onion, and I'm just going to I'm not going to use a lot of onion, maybe a few tablespoons. And this is the trick. You're going to put your diced onion, your diced white onion, into a small colander or stainless steel strainer like this, and you're going to rinse them. When you rinse them, it really cuts that sharp oniony flavor and it kind of softens the onion flavor a little bit and makes them very enjoyable. You could also just use this, and like I said, top your onion with this and avocado. You don't have to use tomatoes. This is like, again, this is one of those recipes that you have random things in your fridge, just throw them in, wrap them in a taco and eat it, right? Like this could be such a versatile meal that you could use anything. You might have a jalapeno, you might have a serrano pepper or habanero, maybe you love spicy foods. You could have that in here too. So I'm gonna rinse these real quick. Just with cold water. Again, it just softens the flavor of the onion a little and it takes that bite out. We'll let that sit for a minute. Now this is not the most perfect avocado I've ever seen, so we're just gonna do the best we can here. Yeah, it's pretty funky. Just gonna slice that's probably about 1/4 of an avocado after I cut out the black spots and part of the pieces. We're just gonna put that in there. And then our onion. A little bit of onion. And then we're going to add some cilantro. Now here's a pro tip. You guys know I love to share my pro tips. When you get your cilantro home, or any herb, any herb that is sold in a bunch like this, go ahead and fill a little jar. You can save a jar. This is I don't even know what this jar is from. It's from something. It's a little jar that we saved. And fill it with a little bit of water. Wash your greens. I use a vinegar mixture to wash mine. Cut the stems of your greens and put them right in the water. And then store it with your produce bag on top. Now I use a reusable produce bag, but this also works with the ones from the produce section. So whenever you're buying herbs, you can buy them with the bag. You can use it, store them and throw them in a bag, and then you could use that because it's breathable, and your herbs will last like a bouquet of flowers. Like this is a 2-week-old bunch of cilantro. So if your herbs aren't lasting that long, that is the pro tip for you. Now, I love cilantro. So I'm gonna put a lot in there. If you don't like it, then don't use it. You can substitute parsley. Something else you can do too, if you like cilantro but you don't love it, right? And it's genetic, right? So if you don't love cilantro, if you think it tastes like soap, then you're probably not going to want to use this. But if you like it but don't necessarily love it, only use the leaves, don't use the stems. You can use the stems, they're edible, but they hold a little bit more of that cilantro flavor. So only use the leaves. I think I'm gonna put a little more in, because like I said, I love it. Now I use juiced limes like this in a jar, the organic lime juices. So I'm gonna put about a tablespoon in there, and I'm just gonna stir it around. This will help the avocado not brown, but again, we're eating it today, so it's not as if it's going to sit, but it also just adds a nice bright flavor. And that's our easy pico de gallo with avocado. So flavorful, so great, and it'll go perfect with our tacos. Now, if you are a salt and pepper person, you can season that to taste. I'll probably put a little salt in it before I serve it. But yeah, that's it. So we're gonna get those veggies roasted, and then we'll be right back to put together a taco and taste it. Okay, so our veggies, beans, and sweet potato have been in the oven, a 400-degree Fahrenheit oven, for 10 to 15 minutes. You could probably do 10 to 12 and then take them out. So you can see that your beans are starting to pop open a little bit. What we're gonna do now is give it a gentle stir, just combining the ingredients. At this point, they can be mixed together. They probably could be mixed together from the beginning, but I like to leave them separate. They do shrink up a little in the oven, so this kind of spreads them out and gets them all mixed. I also, at this point, because they're gonna go back into the oven, like to add my frozen corn. So I'll just dump that in, stir that around too. So the sheet pan's gonna go back into the 400-degree Fahrenheit oven for about 15 minutes until everything is cooked through and the veggies are crisp tender. Then we're gonna toss them with our seasonings that make them the perfect taco filling. Keep watching. Okay, so our sheet pan is out of the oven, and now we're going to add all of our spices and make it just the perfect veggie taco. Now, for this recipe on YouTube, I'm gonna use soy sauce and lime juice. In the cookbook, it uses our mushroom umami sauce, which is a soy sauce, salt-free option. I can link that in the description below because I do have that on the VegInspired website, but I'm just using soy sauce. So in a pinch, you can use soy sauce. You don't have to use the mushroom umami. You can use liquid aminos. You can use tamari, whatever you have. So we're going to add a tablespoon of the tamari. We're just going to drizzle it all over the veggies. And we're coming back with our lime juice. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of lime juice. Again, all over our veggies. Now, again, in the cookbook, we use a homemade taco seasoning. I'm gonna gift it to you by putting it in the comments below so you can make your own. But you can use any store-bought taco seasoning for this. Again, you can look for ones that are cleaner, that don't have a lot of salt or added ingredients that maybe you aren't interested in, or you can make your own. I'm gonna put the recipe for this homemade taco seasoning right in the comments, or right in the caption just for you, right in that description box. Then we're just gonna sprinkle a whole tablespoon of taco seasoning all over these veggies, making sure that we really get it everywhere. Some people like this done and then back in the oven. I don't. I kind of like them to be a little bit, I don't know, kind of juicy, kind of wet. And then we're gonna put our glove on because the pan just came out of the oven, and we're going to stir. We're just going to stir all these seasonings and spices all together. Now, as you can see, I'm using a spatula, and I just get right into the edges and bring those spices in, those wet veggies over to it, trying not to disturb my parchment paper. Bring it all in. Whoops. Stirring it all up real good. Getting everything nice and coated because you want all the flavor to be brought together. All those taco seasoning flavors, the cumin and the chipotle and the chili powder. Oops. Sometimes I make a mess. I'm using 2 small pieces of parchment paper. That's creating some of the issue. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. It smells so good. Okay, then your taco filling's done. Like, that was easy. In the oven, stir it around, you bring it out, you mix it together, it's done. So now we're gonna build our tacos. Let's build our tacos. First, we're going to take a warmed corn tortilla. Now, these corn tortillas are homemade. John has mastered making corn tortillas, and they're the best. Look at, they're so amazing. If you want to see a homemade corn tortilla recipe, show him some love in the comments and let's see if he will share his homemade corn tortilla recipe with you. I'm super excited. Now, we just take a spatula full, maybe a couple, get in some broccoli. I like mine loaded up. Okay, and then we go back over to that yummy pico with avocado in it. Just gonna put a little bit of that. And again, I like the pico that it actually has sat for a little bit because some of the liquids come out. You guys, look at this taco. I am so excited. I love tacos. If you don't know that about me, I love tacos. If you love tacos, let me know in the comments, but I absolutely love tacos. I think they're my favorite food. And I could eat them every day, different fillings, same fillings, it doesn't matter. I love them. So this is so good. I'm so excited. Okay, look at it. It's loaded. It's loaded. It's a big taco. Let's eat it. The bright pico paired with those roasty veggies and that little bit of soy sauce that gives it that deep umami without being like Asian inspired, right? It just adds a really nice depth of flavor. It's incredible. And of course, the roastedness, the corn, I mean, it all just builds this beautiful flavor profile that I know you are gonna love. So if you are ready to make these tacos, let us know. Give this video a thumbs up and we will see you in our next video. Until then, eat more plants and live veg inspired. Bye.